16. I ran. I scrambled back down the hallway, struggling to balance as my hip kept trying to give way. I was terrified that the door wouldn't unlock for me, but the knob turned without a noise. I threw it open and charged outside, finally collapsing on the grass by the track. I curled into a ball, the pain of my chest and leg and arm all overwhelming now. But worse was my heart, which felt like it had ripped from my body and run through a shredder. Model. Jane 117C. Jane had a model number. She was I had no idea. An android? A robot? I thought I was going to throw up. No, she couldn't be a robot. Jane had feelings, and she had ideas, and she had a personality. I'd kissed her. She had kissed me. I tried to picture her, the Jane from before. Happy, beautiful, alive. Jane. But all I could ever see was her hobbling down the blue hallway, tearing off her ear, plugging into the computer. There were no more lights in the building. The school was silent, and no one knew. No one knew, and how was I going to tell them? How could I explain something that I didn't understand? I needed to get them in that door and show them, but I couldn't imagine going back in there. I couldn't see her again. Not like that. She was a computer program. I'd been falling in love with a computer program. When she smiled, it was because of some algorithm that had commanded her to. When she kissed me, it was because a complex chain of ones and zeros made her do it. She wasn't real, and she never had been. But this was impossible. Computers couldn't think, and they couldn't act the way Jane acted. Machines couldn't act like Jane looked. Her skin felt real. There was life in her eyes. I closed my eyes as a sharp wave of pain racked my chest. I needed a doctor, but the infirmary was run by Dylan. And even if he hadn't been the one who bitten me, what could he do? He was a teenager, just like me. Or was he? Jane had a model number, and her number was 117C. Were there 116 others? There weren't even that many students in the school, but with the way people came and went, maybe there had been 116. Maybe the others died, like Jane. Jane was dead. No, she was never alive. Was everyone a robot but me? Maybe they were watching me, testing me. How will Benson Fisher respond if he's in a fight? Will he try to escape? Will he make friends? Will he fall in love? Breathing hurt, lying on the ground hurt, but I couldn't do anything else. Jane could have been the only one. She'd been in the school longer than anyone else. Maybe her stories about the 15 others who disappeared weren't true. She was the first, and she was here to watch everyone else. I suddenly realized that everything else must have been a lie too. She wasn't from Baltimore. She hadn't been homeless. She didn't want to be a doctor. Her freckles were paint, her hair was dyed. I yelled, a visceral, angry cry. Jane had tried to make me think that I could survive in this place, that I shouldn't kill myself in a crazy escape, that there were things good in this life. But it was all fake. Maybe that's why she'd become my friend in the first place. I was getting ready to run, and our programmers wanted me to stay. They knew I needed a reason to keep me here, so they activated some flirt command in Jane's circuitry. But it couldn't just be her. There had to be others in there, in that building right now. Why else would people follow all these stupid rules? Isaiah had to be one, running the society and giving orders to keeping everyone in line. But were there others? What about Carrie and Curtis? Maybe one of them was in the same situation as I was trying to escape, and in need of some reason to stay. What about Mason? Someone to keep an eye on me, since I was the new guy. Laura and Dylan for sure. They were too concerned about enforcing the rules, too strongly allied to the school. But then why would they attack Jane? It didn't make sense. Why would a robot kill a robot? Nausea swept over me. Becky I wasn't sure about. At first I would have thought yes, definitely. She was fake. Too cheerful, too obedient. But there was a sadness in her eyes. And loss. Fear. No. Jane had emotions too. Becky's sadness wasn't any more telling than Jane's happiness or mischievousness or rebelliousness. I rolled onto my back and looked at the school. Anyone could be like Jane. Everyone could be like Jane. I had to escape. I had no option anymore to try to take someone with me, to try for a mass exodus and hope for strength in numbers. I couldn't trust anyone anymore. I struggled to get to my feet, fighting the pain but unable to fight the hopelessness. Jane had become my best friend and now she was gone. But it was worse than death. She had never existed. I wasn't a boyfriend mourning for a lost love. I was a dupe. moaning for my own blindness. I limped across the track, heading for the trees. My hip was burning with every step, and I couldn't breathe. Still, I'd find some way to climb the wall. The paintball flagpole had at least 20 feet of rope. I could cut that and use it for something. Or I could knock down a tree, or take some of the lumber from a bunker. There had to be a way. I was lightheaded, and I began swaying with every limp. I coughed, and the pain was so bad it nearly knocked me to my knees. And then I coughed again, and I couldn't stay up. Blood dripped out of my mouth. I have to keep going. I gritted my teeth and stood again. I was almost to the tree line. It would be harder walking in the woods, but I had to do it. I had to get out tonight. The thought struck me that something might already be coming. I'd seen what Jane was. There had to be repercussions. Whoever was keeping it secret would know what I'd seen. They knew I could ruin all for them. I was moving so slowly, forcing every step. The school was wrong, though. I couldn't ruin everything. Even though I'd seen Jane and the medal under her ear, I couldn't tell anyone because there was no one I could trust. And there was nothing I could give as proof. And tomorrow, Laura and Dylan would just finish the job anyway. The woods around me were spinning. It was so cold. I stumbled and then fell.